Okay. So just to start off, I would like to have the panelists just tell me a little bit about their individual fundraising programs. So what percentage of your donors come from individuals, and maybe how that's changed or transformed since you began as a project. Either one of you can go.
Well, I sort of stumbled into my whole project to begin with, not because I was going to start a foundation or a entity. I actually had a hobby that I was doing as a request by the community to go out and reach out to youth. So I actually had the support of the community right away. And it was actually those individuals that asked me how they could help. So the best way for that possible is for me to eventually create a nonprofit so that they could actually financially help. So for me, I started off probably the opposite way of what most do, and that's that I already had those very, very personal relationships with my donors. And then I provided them a vehicle to help me out by creating a nonprofit pathway for them. And now I'm actually learning how to do the other part of it, reach out and getting grants and what other funds are available to me. So it came sort of backwards, but more naturally. And now I'm learning more than ever the importance of keeping those relationships up with those individual donors. I mean, and also not crossing that line of our friendship and their support, which has been, it's been tough. And I've actually changed my approach on it completely. Like the first year, so the way that I've raised most of my funds is by doing an event or two events. And the first year I did straight up, did an event, raised money, everybody was aware of it, and I did the very uncomfortable thing, the ask at the end. Basically just give me money. And I sat up on stage with an auctioneer and did that. I will absolutely never do that again because I really felt like I was squeezing my friends for money. And so then my second year, what I learned is that if these people believe in what I'm doing, and the way that they're going to do that is by me keeping them completely informed about what I'm doing, and not only just informed, but a lot of them are actually involved because of my situation. It hits home. I'm reaching out to kids, and in some cases, some of my donors have kids or know of kids that are in the program. So it's really personally. So as long as they're believing in what I'm doing, then I just need to keep that communication up, and hopefully without squeezing them, I can get donations back. And one of the ways that I've redesigned that, rather than doing an ask at my events, I'm trying to redesign my events so that this is an event that's entertaining and people look forward to, just as they're going to a concert or going to the opera or whatever it is, that hopefully it's creating events that are going to be completely entertainment. And that, but bottom line is underlining reason that they're there, that this event is going to benefit my mission.
Yeah, so let's see, for CAVP, Colorado Anti-Violence Program, we've actually been around for quite a while. We work to end violence within and against the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer community. And so back in the 80s, actually, we're a pretty old organization, but have evolved a lot over the years. So back in the 80s, there was kind of this, folks were just seeing a lot of violence going down, hate violence, primarily at that time, folks were focused on the hate violence that was targeting the community, and community really did come together and said, we need a response. And so it was actually called Data Call back in the day, not a very exciting call, or exciting name. And I think it was actually partially because they didn't want to put like lesbian or gay or any word like that in it so that they wouldn't be targeted. And so Data Call came together, was a community response to hate violence happening. They started a hotline for people to call and reports of hate violence. And they would, a lot of times the police wouldn't take it seriously or would respond in really inappropriate ways. And so their mission was to kind of be a community response and encourage, law enforcement and other folks and hospitals and things like that to take this violence seriously. over the years, we've changed and grown and evolved. We were part of other organizations, spun off. We, in 2001, spun off and became part of CNDC, a project of CNDC at that time. So I think around like the late 90s, early 2000s or up to the mid 2000s, we really kind of became a mostly independent nonprofit with fiscal sponsorship with CNDC, and that's when we got a ton of government funding to support the work. So at that point, there were a lot of government grants that were supporting like domestic violence and supporting survivors of violence and victims of violence, and we kind of fought to get some of those dollars to support the LGBTQ community as well. So I would definitely say back then that we were primarily government grant driven. But then as we continued evolving, I feel like in the last 10 years, we've kind of come back to becoming a very community-owned grassroots, organization, not only providing, our hotline and direct services, but doing a lot of other kinds of community programming as well, training our community members to go out and do trainings with providers. We started doing youth organizing with young LGBTQ folks. So anyway, I think as we made that shift again, we went back to really saying we want our community to support our organization. We want the people who've used our services and have been supported by CAVP to support the organization. And there's a lot of love in queer community and LGBTQ community, I think, for CAVP. And so we really made an intentional shift to have a big chunk of our work supported by individual donors. So that being said, right now it's about 15% of our budget, which is supported by individual donors. And which is a pretty, we can count on that every year, and which feels great. And we definitely have goals to just keep increasing that, because we still rely on government dollars, which some of you who get that money know is kind of a pain in the butt, and it can be restrictive and doesn't allow us to do some of the more social justice, more movement building, more even radical work that we want to do. So it's really, really important to us that we have our core of individual donors and community supporters supporting our work.
So as you can see, we have just in the two panelists today, very different. So CAVP is very community driven, grassroots, and then Chris Anthony came from, like we said, the other side. He's a professional skier and had a base of donors, but now it's more about retention and expanding that reach. So kind of building on that, what are some strategies that you have utilized to diversify your funding? So kind of drilling down, like what are the strategies? Like what is that big question? Like how can you diversify that funding?
What I've learned is to utilize you all a lot more. That there's a lot of resources in the handbook and what's here, and this has been like going back to school, but there's a lot of little fundamental things that I'm learning, like already the mailers, getting the mailers out. I really am learning to organize a database. I have this group of people that is willing to support, but then I don't collect their information, and I'm trying to rack my brain who they were. So trying to collect their information, put that information in a way that I can reach out to them in a fun way, not in an ask way, but just keeping them informed, and once again, in a newsletter, or making them part of. What's important to me is that they are part of my project, because my project's actually really fun. And in that the underlying message is that this is an outreach, and if I do it in the right way, what I've noticed is that the individuals come back and go, this is really cool, how can I help? And that's where I've dropped the ball too, and I'm trying to get better, is how can they help? And how do I make that path from that question to actually nailing them right there, and letting them either make a financial donation or volunteer or something. So I'm on a fast learning track of that, and so I'm adapting that right now. It's just a clear passage from getting them excited to getting them in and then retaining them.
Yeah, definitely for us over the last few years, I think some of the biggest things we've done is we started a special event. So this year will be our 5th year, And similar to what, what you were talking about, like this, it's called Rooting Down, Rising Up. And we've thought about it. Yes, this is definitely a big fundraiser for us, but it's also like, we want it to be like the party of the year for like, queer community in Denver, and just make it like a fun event that people want to be at no matter what. And so it's kind of that strategy of like, it's really a celebration. It's a celebration of our community. It's a celebration of our work. And it's not just kind of like a boring stuffy dinner. So that's kind of our goal with the event. And then also to make money. And one thing that I really appreciate about our kind of fundraising plan is we're not actually like, our majority of the folks who give money to us are giving like, $5 a month, or, our tickets for our event are $25. Like, it's really important to us to make it super accessible and super, available to the diversity of, income and backgrounds in our community. So we don't want to charge like $100 tickets to like a big gala event. We actually want to make it a community event, $25 tickets, but then there's tons of opportunities to give more at the event if you can. So we have a great silent auction. We have a great ask, at the end we get some folks to, I don't think the executive director or staff should ever do the ask, because you're kind of like asking for your own salary. So really having other folks, board members, volunteers, youth, like people we work with, to make the ask for our work and our programming. And we still end up raising, like last year we raised around $18,000, even with $25 tickets. And that's a whole other workshop, I think, special events. But similarly, so we started a special event 5 years ago, and then we've also done a lot of cool kind of online giving campaigns. But this, again, like Cindy mentioned, social media and online giving, I know that's like the trend right now, crowdsourcing, all that kind of stuff, but it still comes down to relationships. And that's so real, because it starts from our base of like our board, absolutely, all of our volunteers, and that's actually our biggest resource, because we have volunteers run our hotline. We have volunteers do trainings out in the community. We have volunteers help run our youth programming. So they are an incredible resource, because they're the most passionate and engaged and involved in our organization. So between board members, volunteers, our young people we work with and their families, they're the most invested, right, in the organization. So we really tap that and ask them to tap their relationships. So they can go to their friends, they can go to their colleagues, they can go to their former professors, like whoever, and say, like, I dedicate a huge amount of time in my life to this organization, and I care about it, and this is why, and help me raise money for this organization. So then all the fun, fancy, whatever, fun stuff around like setting up online campaigns and all of that is kind of the technical details that follow. But it is really about tapping all those people who love our organization, are invested in our organization, and building out from there. And I can show you a couple examples, but also with those online giving campaigns, recently last year, we really moved to getting monthly donors. And so we feel like this is our top strategy right now for like diversifying our funding, because those monthly donors, it's a stable source of income. It's not just a one-time gift. You do kind of the same amount of work to get that donor to sign up monthly than you would to get them to give once. And then once they're set up monthly, you get them on a credit card, they're giving every month. A lot of people, they just don't notice it after it comes out of their account every month. And they're much more likely to kind of stay at least for until their credit card expires. So at least then there's a whole process of trying to, make sure people stay connected. But that has been really successful for us, and we're really excited about that as a strategy. And maybe if we have time later, I can show you all a couple of examples from our campaign. Yeah.
I just have to say, I was asking my neighbor here, I said, did I hear that right? When you said, what was the word even? Queer? Queer? And it was like, at first I thought, no, I didn't hear that right. And then you said it again, and I asked him, and I looked it up online. And I mean, it sounds like you have a fabulous organization, a fabulous, group but I mean, I can tell you that, so when did that term come up? Because that would turn me off. I mean, the definition is freakish.
Yeah, no,
I don't get it.
That's a great question. I think there's kind of probably a generational divide around it, because that term has now really been reclaimed.
Well, that's what he said.
Yeah, by especially like my generation and younger, and it really is kind of a political statement, just similar to people of color, where something like colored people was kind of seen as offensive, but it's been reclaimed as a term of pride, and it really talks about both gender identity and sexual orientation, and folks really identifying as, I'm not just lesbian, but I'm open to like multiple sexualities, or I'm open to multiple gender expressions.
Well, that sounds better to me.
Yeah, and it's actually a huge term of pride, and I think the more kind of progressive side of the community has really claimed and reclaimed that word and uses it as a term of pride. And a lot of people actually, like a lot of our young people, they don't want to identify with lesbian or gay or bisexual. They very strongly identify with the word queer. So,
okay, thank you. That's really, I learned a lot here today.
Well done.
Well, yeah, I think explaining things like that, right? So like, I think our community understands that, but I think that's
Sorry. Things are getting very exciting.
But I think that's a great point, because if we are trying to fundraise from a wider audience or just intergenerationally, how do you explain, folks who may not be in the core of understanding?
Thank you.
I think that could bring up two things that we were talking about on the event side, what you brought up, and what I've tried to do is I want my event, which is a big part of reaching out to my individual donors, to be approachable for everybody and not polarizing anybody in one. So the ticket price even, so like last year at my event, literally was $10 standing room all the way to $5,000 seats and or $5,000 tables in a venue that was only 350 people. So everybody was brought together and everybody was part. But once you were in there, you really did, it didn't feel like anybody was polarized or anything. You were all part of something. And I think by sending that message out through my event effort is that I'm trying to make my individuals, they're all part of something. And in a way that, whatever way is approachable for them to give, that can be part of it. That's also important. The other thing, which I guess I'm sort of lucky with that I can do, is I can offer up free sort of outreach to my donors. So I come from like a scheme. My whole thing was based off of the fact that I'm a professional athlete. So I offer up all sorts of opportunities to give out free experiences to my people. And it's a great way to get to know them. So whether it's come up and ski with me for the day or something like that, and then I naturally get into those conversations with them. So again, for me, I've been lucky that I've been able to really connect with my individual donors.
So changing gears a little bit, how about we talk about board involvement? So how has your board been engaged in developing those individual donors? Talk a little bit more about that.
For me, my donor, once again, my board is again friends that, and they all have some sort of connection to my mission statement to begin with. And it's really, really important for them. It isn't that I've actually had to go out and say, here's what I need you to do. It's actually, again, they're the ones pitching me ideas, and I brought them in so that the board almost formed itself, because it's people that want to be involved. Again, so to get those relationships and really having people that are just as passionate about the mission that I am. And with that, empowering them to be more involved. And if anything, I get on their case and go, yeah, you're allowed to talk, but let's see some action now. And utilizing their assets.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like this is my second year at the organization, and I feel just blessed and amazed that our board is like supportive of fundraising. And I think for the last few years, folks in my position and the staff as a whole just felt like we have to make fundraising a priority for everyone. It's not just the job of one development director to do that on their own. And that is amazing. And I think that's the most successful way to do fundraising is program staff, board, volunteers. There's kind of a culture and an expectation that everyone, to make our work happen, everyone has to chip into fundraising. And so it's absolutely an expectation that all board members give. It doesn't matter the amount. If you have $5 to give, you can give $5, but you have to give something that's meaningful and significant to you, and that you are willing to participate in fundraising. And so we actually have a board fundraising plan. I can show you all that we have every single board member. I meet with all of our board members one-on-one each year, and we kind of come up with a plan together. We talk about what's reasonable for you to give, what are the ways you'd like to help this year. Do you want to be part of the host, planning the special event? There's an expectation that every spring we do one of our online campaigns, and one of our board members, all of our board members are campaigners as a part of that. So that's huge for us. Like, that's my team that helps me fundraise. And I don't know. I think definitely we definitely don't have people who are just like, I come from money and I'm used to either just writing a check, or I know tons of people with money and so I can just call them and ask them for money. It's definitely a process of doing things like role plays, helping people overcome all of our fear. Like, we don't talk about money in this society. It's awkward, it's uncomfortable, we don't talk about thoughts. So really having some of those conversations, getting into it and saying, let's practice asking for money. Let's, it's all good. I can send it out later too. It doesn't come out. Like, for example, we had a new board member last year who felt really uncomfortable, like, my friends don't have any money, I hope that we feel comfortable. But we did some role plays together. I sent her examples of letters I've sent to my friends. We kind of walked through it, and I said, you would be surprised, like, without asking, you just never know who is gonna say yes. So, oh, cool. So just really being able to, like, initially handhold people through the process, but once they have that feeling of like, oh, I asked my friends and like people gave and I never knew this was possible, I actually think people get pretty excited about fundraising once they have a taste of victory. So this is just something we came up with. It's pretty simple, but we have this work plan that we go over with each of our board members with their individual commitment, how they're going to support special campaigns and events, additional activities, things Cindy mentioned, like some of our board members want to just call donors and thank them. So even if we don't have time to do all those one-on-one meetings, and actually we need to do better at this, the retention part we're still working on, but just having a board member call 50 people and you'll mostly get voicemails, but for the few people you talk to, just being like, thank you, and what's your feedback? And you're not asking for any money, right? So some people who are like, I already asked for money, I can't do anymore, you can give them tasks like that, or house parties, or stuffing envelopes, just some way that they're contributing to the fundraising. So,
Can you send this out?
Yes,
Yeah, great.
yeah, for sure.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So what are some challenges or successes that you've faced when engaging with your board about individual giving?
For me, I'm just embarrassed to ask them for. Again, I go back to that. I feel like I'm walking such a fine line with all my relationships with all my individuals, whether it is what it is. So my biggest challenge is trying to provide a fun and entertaining way of what I'm actually accomplishing so that they just fall in love with it. And that means an investment on my side as far as social media, making sure that somehow I get them onto my social media and actually looking at what's going on. So, for example, if I go into a school and we did something really cool and I could capture it in photos or maybe a small video, or I took a bunch of kids up to Winter Park and just getting a little video produced. But stuff that's short and quick because these are busy people, but it's entertaining and inspirational and just making them fall in love with it. And again, it just makes, I really don't have to do the ask. I just have to provide the vehicle for them to somehow want to support it. And that's where the part that I need to get better at. That how do I make that happen? Make people fall in love with something, and then just a quick donation back. And what's easy about my whole thing is my overhead's super low. So whatever I raise instantly has a feedback to what the impact is into my mission, and which I instantly give out the information to those people that are following me. My biggest part of that is the social media, the direct email blast. I am going to design a letter that's going to go out. And again, I've handwritten everybody. So I try to bring it down to the most personal level.
I will jump in that Chris does a great job of marketing. So after this, we can send out some examples. He's really good at getting that connection, like you said, like having pictures of the kids going on the ski trip for the kids that have never been up to the mountains. Like, it's just really heartfelt to see all of that happening because of Chris's project. So,
Yeah, I think I kind of touched on it. Just that similarly, right? Like, we're all, like, I have worked at a couple of different organizations in town, and I'm always asking my friends for money, and like, I think our board members feel the same. And I think it's really kind of that balance of, there's people who really get hooked into our work and our mission and are just passionate about what we do and like tapping that. And then some of my friends are like, we just love you and that's why we're giving, and just being real that you're gonna have both of those kinds of people. And hopefully the people who love me and love our board members will also, through us doing a good job of letting them know what we're doing and inviting them to stuff, will also get connected to the mission, right? So there's kind of a mix of both of those, and just, again, giving our board members the confidence, just having them try, seeing a little bit of success and building on that. Like, you know, for our big spring campaign, you know, people who have birthdays during the month are saying, instead of a birthday or gift, you know, give to CAVP, that's the gift I would want. Or if we do things like saying, I have a goal of getting 10 people, help me meet my goal. So many of your friends and colleagues and supporters, just for that alone, they kind of want to support you and help you meet your goal. That's why crowdsourcing has been so popular. And so just really giving them tips and tools to say, yeah, it's okay. It's okay to, you know, the reason why you're not just asking your friends for money and like you have to feel guilty about it. Like, you're passionate about this work. You think this work is important. We need community support to make it happen. And so approaching people from that place, instead of kind of that like, oh, can you just give to me because I know you? And, you know, so just really helping people reframe and really lead from that passionate place and be like, your friends, your supporters are going to want to help you meet your goal. And in turn, that helps CAVP meet our goal. And so that's just, you know, an example.
One of the things that I'm coming across now that I need to get better at, it's still a challenge. People are starting to ask me, what are the results of the impact that I'm doing? So right now I'm learning that I need to get some, at the end we're gonna have to take a survey, you know, of the class. So I need to start doing measurements so I can have that matrix of what's happening. And it's a challenge. So it's dry stuff that you don't necessarily know about, but it's definitely important.
I think there's a lot of people out there who love kind of like, you know, community work and nonprofits and causes, you know, but maybe won't always know where to give. And so it's like, oh, my younger sister is volunteering with this organization every day and doing X, Y, and Z. And they feel really good about being able to support like a cause that their family member or friend is a part of. So I think just, again, really tapping into that spirit.
So in thinking about who's in this room, like we have a broad variety, such an array of projects here today. What advice would you give to projects that are just starting their individual campaign?
Starting an individual campaign. Do something that you fall in love with. So something that you want to be at, something that you want to be part of, and that you're going to have fun putting together, and that if you were not the one putting it together, that you want to come to, so, or be part of. I think that's the most important thing. If people see that you're in love with what you're doing, they're going to want to fall in love with it as well. So take the business out of it, take the fundraising thing out, and just put the passion in there, and people are going to follow you.
Just the relationships thing, start with whoever your core supporters are of your organization, your board, your volunteers, people who've actually been impacted by your organization, even if that's 5 people right now, and start with those people and then their networks, and then you'll build out. So if you're not in an organization where you already have a database with like 300 people in it, you just got to start somewhere. So start with even if it's 3 people, it's amazing where you can get maybe $40 from those 3 people, and you just build. So
That was my next question. What advice do you have for projects that are trying to increase the number of individual donors? Is there anything else around that?
Hopefully the networking from one person to the next, and making that easy. It's, again, one of those places that I'm up against the challenge and trying to figure out the best way is collecting that data and making your database that's easy for you, that doesn't become a hassle, and that you can constantly reach out to those people, and something that's easy for your immediate people to pass on to some other people. So again, the social media world, even Facebook sharing, or they get an email that's easy to just forward on to, that they'll hopefully forward on to their friends, and that they have a reason to do it. So, and then hopefully that'll come back to you, and again, making it easier for yourself to collect that data, but building those people one at a time and not losing their information.
yes, that's actually huge. Same thing, like it should not be just the executive director fundraising and bringing in their contacts, right? Because then you're going to stay just limited. And I think that happens by default in a lot of organizations, right? And so, and not even just the board, like try to increase, it's really motivating other people, other supporters of the organization to then start being ambassadors and advocates and bringing their networks to the organization. And maybe really quick 30-second, for example, we have this campaign called 500 for 5, and our goal is to get 500 donors giving at least $5 a month in 5 years. And so we had year 1 of that campaign. We're headed into year 2. And I'm happy to talk to folks about like technical details later, but like this is somebody who's been a previous board member, is a current volunteer, and but they're not like staff. Well, now Mimi's gonna join staff, but last year she wasn't staff. She was, just a longtime supporter of CNDP, and we created a fundraising page for her, and then she could go out and campaign and get folks to join. So it's not, again, if you want to increase your donors, it's really tapping into, having more and more people tap into their networks and bringing it into your organization. And the cool thing about this, which I'm happy to talk about later, is we did these pages using Smart Merchant, which is a program that CNDC signed up for. So it's something you get as part of being a project of CNDC. And I worked with them. They have the capacity to create these little fundraising pages, so you don't have to go to like Kickstarter or all these other kinds of pages. You can create your own custom pages with help. So we had 20 people last year fundraising for CAVP, board, staff, volunteers like Mimi, and their goal was to each get 5 people to give $5 a month. So that's not crazy. That's pretty doable to just only find 5 people in your network to give $5 a month. But that's collectively, as you can see in the math, if we get $5 a month times 12 months, times 500 people, that's $30,000 a year, which is not, if you have a budget like ours, which is, around $300,000, that's not that to be raising that much money each year. And super accessible at $5 a month. It's the cost of, a latte. It's doable for a lot of people. You don't have to be a millionaire to be supporting our work. So.
I think also too, one of the things that's helped me out is creating strategic partnerships. Because, for example, I'm working on one right now, Larksburger, the fast food chain. They are trying to they want to reach out to youth and stuff in a healthy way, but obviously they have their own database. And also, one of the companies I work with, Warren Miller Entertainment, has a huge database. So partnering with a strategic partner in a way that makes them look benefit, that they're doing something that's a good outreach. So hopefully some of their followers, their database will filter into yours. And so creating those partnerships.
Can I ask a question about that? So how does their database filter into yours?
Well, hopefully they'll start getting followers from them. So like Warren Miller Entertainment, for example, they put a film on every year and they send out a direct mailer to all their people that are in their database. And I basically was able to have my logo on their direct mailer with a link to my world, which is where I now drop the ball. I didn't have a really good way to collect. People came to my website, but I didn't have a really good, easy path for them to get involved, which I'm going to work on this summer. But people became aware of my project. And the other thing that was great, because one of the things that I do is I go into schools and inspire kids. So people were able to go learn about it from the Warren Miller website, which went to 500,000 people, and learn that, we could have, a Warren Miller athlete or Chris Anthony come to my children's school. So that was a great linkage to the actual mission statement, and I got to do what I was supposed to do, and then hopefully have other people like go, wow, this is cool. So again, it's all this stuff that's coming in from different places, but where I'm dropping the ball, I need to have a catcher's net to grab those people while they're interested and then keep them there. But it's been, for me, again, it's been those strategic partnerships that have been probably created my biggest reach, and hopefully grabbing one out of each 10 people to really be personally involved.
I had a question for Neha on your campaign. Have you found that some people who sign up for the monthly donations actually give more than the $5?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That's great.
Absolutely.
Do you know how many or?
Yeah, I didn't pull those
that's
but it definitely, we have folks giving like $50 a month, for example, and then we have a lot of folks who give anywhere. I would say most frequently like between $5 and $50 a month. So $50 a month, 50 times 12 is 600. So that's a pretty significant donation, So we again, with a small budget, grassroots, we count major donors, donations as anything above $250. So, but it's a really kind of an affordable way. If you're just making a good salary, but you don't have like millions of dollars in the bank, you can still support in a really significant way. We also have major donors who give one time a year. We're giving a couple of folks who give $2,000 a year or $3,000 a year. But this feels really good to us because it feels like our community is actually supporting our work and they believe in our work. And there's a ton of people, like 500 people, investing into our organization at whatever level they can.
What kind of a vehicle do you have set up for the payments?
So we're using the Smart Merchant feature.
Right.
And so once they sign up here, it's pretty much, you put in your name, you put in your donation amount, you can do, we also tell people if they can't commit monthly, they should definitely do a one-time donation. All their billing information, and then it automatically goes into that system. So then they're just charged. They put their credit card in and they're charged every month. So.
And like Neha said, that's actually through CNDC. So if any of you are interested, we work with Smart Merchant closely, and so our point of contact there can help you set up these pages. So if you just want one page on your website just for donations, or if you want multiple sub-sites like this for a bigger campaign, you can do that. We also have ways to do that through Colorado Gives in the same kind of format where you can do a lot of sub-campaigns and having your board members, your volunteers, community members fundraising for you. So it's kind of a fun way to raise money, and we're here to help with that if you're interested.
So instead of just having everyone go to a CNDP page, the thing that was different is everyone got to create their own custom page, and then people have that personal connection. Like, I know Mimi, I want to give to Mimi, and also to CAVP. So it just gave that, people got to post this on their Facebook, people were sending this out on emails, Twitter, like, they were like, donate to my page. We actually also did videos where people shared their story of why they love CAVP, and so when you click on their picture, it links to a video, and so people could hear their friends or family member's story, like, I'm Mimi, this is why I care about CAVP, please give, and that was really powerful. It's like inspiration for people too.
I'm really interested in hearing more. Maybe we can have a private conversation about how you made that shift from government grant-driven to community-driven, more of a grassroots, because I find that really fascinating. Maybe we can just have a,
Yeah,
I don't know
for
if you
sure.
wanted to kind of talk about how you made that transition really quickly.
And it's really more, we're still in trend. We still rely on our government grants.
But it sounds to me like-
We're trying to,
It sounds to me kind of like that's not what your face forward is. It
Yeah.
kind of-
yes, absolutely.
Giselle?
Does Smart Merchant take a percentage of the donation? Because I know a lot of like PayPal does and those do.
Yeah, so we have, I can get more details to you about all of the percentages. The Colorado Gives is 2%, Smart Merchant is 3%. It all kind of is around that 3%, 2.9 range. That's pretty consistent with credit card donation platforms. But it is a better percentage than, I would say, than the Kickstarter or other campaigns where they do a bigger percent on top. So that's something to consider.
Like Razoo and all those other ones, yeah. And the reason why we switched to this, we did one campaign on Colorado Gives before, but Colorado Gives, like the interface is just not cool. So it was really awesome that we could create a customized thing on here, so.
So, in closing, for our panelists, is there any overarching advice or any other comments that you'd like to provide for individual giving and how to cultivate those donors? And final words?
It just, definitely the thank yous. Thank yous. I like what you said, the thank you without the ask. Just a solid thank you. And writing if possible.
Just, if you can, make it a part of your culture that everyone fundraises. It's not the job of just the executive director. It's not just the job of the development director, and that I think will increase success if the whole organization is bought into, like, that raising money and raising support for our work is as important, goes hand in hand with the work itself. I think it's like, who better to talk about and be passionate about your work than like people who are doing the programs or like people who are working directly with your community. So just get everybody, make it fun. Like, this is a fun time for us. It's like everyone's posting stuff on Facebook. We have contests, giveaways, little prizes for people who get the most donors. So just make it fun and include everyone in your organization.
So thank you so much to Chris and Neha for presenting today. I'm sure they'll be able to stick around for a couple minutes if you have any specific questions, as well as Cindy and the CNDC crew over here. So, Angela?
I just wanted to echo Allison's thank yous. Thank you so much to our panel. We really appreciate you taking time out of your schedules to present to everybody what you're doing. You guys are doing great jobs at fundraising, and hopefully everybody here today learned a little bit more about what you can do at your organizations. And a big thanks to Cindy for coming to present to us today on individual giving as well. Just one final reminder to fill out your evaluations before you leave. We really take that feedback very seriously, and it helps us with our workshops this year and for planning for next year for 2016. And then I just wanted to hand out the thank yous to our panelists and to Cindy, and please give them a round of applause for their presentation. Thank you all for attending. Yes.